I'm making this video to talk to you about the situation in Manipur. Now, Manipur has been burning for close to 2 months now. 100 plus lives have been lost. There are 50 to 60,000 people who have been displaced from their homes. There are many who are living in refugee camps. There are villages, entire villages which have been burnt. There are also news of so many temples and churches having been burned to ashes, and there's so much destruction going on in a mob manner. This almost is like a civil war. And while we have so many Indians today concerned and talking about what is happening in France, I am surprised that why are we not shocked and able to continue with our lives as if nothing's wrong despite what is happening right here in our backyard in Manipur. 5,000 plus weapons and thousands of ammunition for those weapons were stolen. Some in fact say were rather just handed over to the people by the state machinery. Out of that 5,000, close to about 1,000 have been recovered, but 4,000 sophisticated weapons are out there with these people. And are they with just these people, or are they being used or sent to other parts of the country as well? Are they being planning going on that there will be a Manipur on a much larger scale? Now, if any of this would have been done by anybody else, had it been a community, had it been people of a state, or had it happened in any other state, this entire machinery, central, different states, politicians, media, would have all ensured that entire communities would have been labeled as terrorists. The state would have been put under president's rule in a day or two, or in a very short time. Yet, despite such a massive failure or intentional acts, as some put it, of what's happening in Manipur, the kind of civil war, kind of destruction, kind of barbarism, humans turning into animals or worse, and not killing, lynching, maiming, burning other humans, burning little 7-year-olds alive, is happening right here, and yet we continue to be silent and continue to let it happen. Many conversations have happened, some visits by some politicians and ministers have happened. Despite that, even homes of union ministers are being burned to the ground. This violence has not abated, rather it has escalated. And even the army is now finding it very hard to operate and ensure back to normalcy kind of a situation. Normalcy is not possible anytime soon, but at least the violence to end, at least no more killings to happen. But the army is finding that also very difficult to achieve because of how things have been planned, or how things are being done, and how this entire execution of a plan or execution and elimination of humans and property is happening. Like I mentioned earlier, had it been anywhere else, president's rule would have been imposed immediately. Yet, despite almost 2 months having passed by, there is no sign of this violence coming down, and yet president's rule has not been imposed. The question that we need to ask is, why are we spending billions of dollars purchasing arms from all over the world, but letting people, hundreds of them, burn and die? What is the use of spending all that money when we cannot keep our people safe despite having all the resources at our hand? And if you are unable to control this situation, then make way. Let the army take full control and let the army manage this the way it should be. It is most unfortunate and most regretful and most disappointing that this situation has come to being. That a huge state is almost in a civil war. It should never have come to this, but what needs to be done right now is that through the president's rule or a complete handover to army, this violence needs to end. Otherwise, when this violence will grow and beyond borders of Manipur into other states, into big cities, and can come knocking right at our doors, we will not even get to know. So before it is too late, it is very, very important that we almost stop everything that we are doing and we ask the government to take decisive corrective action. The first and foremost being to impose a president's rule right away. Even if the entire state has to be shut down, it should be shut down. But this violence cannot continue even for another day. More people cannot die. How are we able to sleep? How are our politicians and elected representatives going about addressing rallies and doing almost every other thing which is not required to be done by them, which is not a priority? We spend billions of dollars to keep this country safe. Taxpayers pay so much money, and in the end, if we are not able to even ensure their life, then every single individual from top to bottom who was responsible to ensure safety of life and property is responsible and should be held accountable. For now, I will urge you to ask your elected representatives through social media and wherever, through organizing some rallies or marches or gatherings, but president's rule has to be imposed. This violence needs to be brought to an end, and we then need to take steps to reunite the people, tell them that we are all one and every difference can be settled, but anybody indulging in violence has to be dealt with the way it would have been done to anybody else, let's say, was coming from overseas or within the country in some other part. We cannot have this attitude. We cannot be looking over all of this. We cannot be sleeping peacefully. Nothing is right. And the biggest worry once again is that we have to ensure that these weapons, sophisticated weapons, are all returned back, found before these weapons spread across the country. 4,000 weapons. I don't know how much effort a foreign country needs to make to send 4,000 weapons into another country. But here, from within the country, we have managed to part with 4,000 sophisticated weapons with thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Can you imagine the destruction, the catastrophe that we are staring at if this is not handled immediately? So for your own safety, for the safety of your loved ones, in whichever part of the country you are, please make a noise, please be vocal and ask the government to impose president's rule and hold every single person responsible for what has happened in Manipur accountable. If you want to sign a petition for this, in the comments, I'm also going to share an online petition which is asking for imposition of president's rule. You can sign that petition and you can share that. You can forward it en masse to all your networks. But let's get this going now before it is too late. I sincerely hope you understand the urgency and the emergency that we are in. and you will take steps accordingly. Thank you, and with the hope that we will be able to bring this violence to an end and it doesn't grow. You take care.